Now, as we know, the deep state, they are in full panic mode. Yesterday, we talked about the panic that the deep state is in, and we pointed out this is why they're doing all this right now. Q right now has been dark for many days, and a lot of people have their theories of why Q is dark. Some are saying that Q is locked out of the account, saying that Q just disappeared, is never coming back. But there is a specific reason why Q had to go dark. It's not because, oh, let me go dark right now because I don't want to speak. There's a specific reason. Actually, there's a law. And this is why Q had to go dark. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. But let's go through what the deep state has been doing, what they've been trying to do, and how Trump, the Patriots, how they've been countering all of this. Because out of all of this, you're going to see the entire country go from dark to light. It will give way to light, and the American people will learn the truth. Now, what's very interesting, we know the mainstream media, they like to push out fake news. Now, there's different forms of it, but a lot of times what they like to do is they like to withhold news or not report on news, and this way they can say, oh, we never said that, we just didn't report on it. But if you have a news story that's out there and you've been telling other stories, and this counters a story that you've been putting out there, you should put it out there. So NBC News, they deliberately hid vital information that would have helped clear Brett Kavanaugh of the serial rape allegations by Julie Swetnick and her attorney Michael Avenatti. So on September 30th, a week prior to Kavanaugh's confirmation, during the most intense days of this scandal, Kavanaugh's confirmation was still very much in doubt. And NBC didn't want the public to know something very specific. If you recall, although he withheld the name, Avenatti tweeted out a sworn statement from a woman who backed up Swetnick's outrageous rape allegations. In her statement, the second woman swore that she too had witnessed Kavanaugh spike punch bowls and take sexual advantage of girls. Well, unbeknownst to us, NBC interviewed this anonymous witness on September 30th, and she recanted. But only now is NBC News bothering to report this bombshell. So let me read what this woman has said here. Referring to Kavanaugh spiking the punch, I didn't ever think it was Brett, the woman said to reporters in a phone interview arranged by Avenatti on September 30th. After repeated requests to speak with other witnesses who might corroborate Swetnick's claims, when asked in the phone interview if she ever witnessed Kavanaugh act inappropriately towards girls, the woman replied, no. But it gets worse. On October 3rd, NBC News again spoke to this woman, and this time she all but accused Avenatti of fabricating her statement. And they sat on this. They should have come out with this information, but they didn't want to. We see Sarah Carter put up an article about Papadopoulos, saying that the FBI withheld exculpatory information from the secret court. Now, former Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos may hold the key to some of the most important questions lawmakers have been asking in recent months about the FBI's handling of the Russian probe into Trump's campaign. Did the FBI withhold exculpatory evidence from America's most secret court? And if so, what was it? So Mark Meadows said the following: George Papadopoulos was the reason why this whole Russia investigation was opened. Hopefully, he said, we will learn today what was said and what was not said. I think what we'll find is that this was not colluding with Russia. Papadopoulos said that he made it perfectly clear to the undercover bureau operative and British-based professor Stefan Halper that there was no collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. So Mark Meadows tweeted out the following. George Papadopoulos, the supposed key informant, told the FBI there was no collusion before the FISA warrant, and the FBI omitted that exculpatory information from the application anyway. With all we've learned about FISA abuses, this is deeply troubling, Mark Meadows said. So Halper, who Papadopoulos suspected in the late summer of 2016 to be recording his conversation, had questioned him extensively in private conversation as to whether or not the Trump campaign had been in communication with Russia. He also questioned whether there was any coordination between Russia and the campaign to obtain Hillary Clinton emails that had been hacked from her server. Papadopoulos said, I think I told him something along the lines of, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. What you're talking about is treason, and I have nothing to do with that, so stop bothering me about it. Now, the exchange between Halper and Papadopoulos is important because it was this information that was obtained by the FBI that was purposefully kept from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court when the FBI and Department of Justice sought a warrant to gather all the communications and spy on another former Trump campaign advisor, Carter Page. This is the exculpatory information that the government has fought so hard to keep from the public. This is what they didn't want people to know, because if this was known, then this FISA warrant should have never been issued, and the spying should have never happened. And they don't want anyone to know this, but it's all coming out. Let's get into what is happening with this bomber and these packages that are being sent all over the place. Right now, 2 more suspicious packages were discovered today. And they found this, and this was sent to Cory Booker, very interesting, in the Camden office, but it was intercepted in Florida. Very interesting. A 12th package, meanwhile, was addressed to both CNN and former Director of National Intelligence turned activist CNN commentator James Clapper. Now, police evacuated the Manhattan post office in response to all this. Clapper called the packages domestic terrorism. Remember Clapper? He lied to the American people, telling everyone that, they don't spy on American people. But once again, when you look at the package, no postmarks at all. They didn't invalidate the stamps. Very odd, very strange. Now, it's all over the mainstream media, I'm sure everyone heard it, that they arrested the man who sent the packages. They identified him as Cesar Sayoc Jr. Now, it seems like this individual has many different names, but we'll use Cesar, his first name, to identify him. And social media posts reveal that Sayoc attended at least one Trump rally, and they show a picture of him holding up a sign, "Welcome President Trump." Now, the man is 56, was arrested in Miami area after discovering DNA evidence that led them to a packaging center, which then led them to the Plantation Auto Zone in Broward County, miles away from the Sunrise, Florida office of Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And that is the return address that's on the package. But we need to remember the bomb had the Islamic State flag on it, and so far we don't see Cesar being associated with the Islamic State. He never tweeted out anything about the Islamic State, and it's strange that this individual would put this on there. Doesn't make sense at all. They found his van in a parking lot. So let's go and look at who he sent this to. He sent it to Obama, Clinton, Biden, CNN, Brennan, Holder, Wasserman Schultz, Waters, Clapper, Booker, Soros, De Niro, and all these people that are in government. They're the ones who are under investigation. And then we have the others that either pay for certain events, maybe with refugees, and then we have others who are outspoken critics of Trump. So those are where all the packages have gone. Now, the bomber's van, and this is very interesting, the stickers are not really stickers. They are large print stickers that were put together with like Photoshop. And then it looks like it was like made out of vinyl, and they're very clear and sharp, and they look brand new, just put right on the van. So it doesn't look like this individual has been driving around with this on there, because they look sharp, clean, no sun fade or anything. And when you zoom in closer to the images, they show memes, and many Annans use these type of memes. But again, we're not riding around with these memes on our cars. This is not how Trump supporters, those individuals that are listening to Q, operate. Most of the time, we put where we go one, we go all, or Q Army, or something like that. We don't put all of this out there because that's negative. We look at the positive. And this is very strange that this individual would put all this out there. So on his van, he has all these stickers, and inside the van, there are about 25 different new pro-Trump hats on the dashboard. I mean, they went all out on this one. So when we look at the individual's Twitter feed, most of the posts are very strange. They're memes, and a lot of it is just repeated over and over and over and over. And it seems that this individual has different Twitter accounts, but they show the same tweets, that they're just showing these memes, doesn't really write that much on it, and they just keep putting it out there over and over and over. And the one part where they show the person wrote something, Caesar wrote something, it doesn't really make that much sense. So maybe this individual has a mental illness, maybe he has a problem, we don't know as of yet. But let's go back to the van. The Daily Wire is reporting that the van right now has been sitting in a parking lot for over a year. Now we're getting word that he was kicked out of his home and he was living in his van. So this is all kind of strange. And he had these new not really stickers, this photoshopped, gigantic sticker placed on the car, and it doesn't look like this was on there for very long. This individual has been arrested multiple times in Florida in 2013 for grand theft and other things. We'll get into that in a little bit. So Bill Corbin tweeted out the following: my co-producer took these pics December 2017 at the shops at the Waterways in Aventura, Florida. The van was regularly parked overnight outside a kosher market over 1+ year ago. He believes it may be connected to the bomb suspect and has contacted the FBI. So it looks like the van has been sitting outside, supposedly with these stickers, but there's no sun fade or anything. And especially if you're in Florida, you would see sun fade. So that's kind of strange right off the bat. So let's talk about Caesar here. The mainstream media is out there saying that Caesar is a registered Republican, which we knew this was going to happen. Kind of predicted it, that this was a complete and utter setup. And we knew the plan. And again, if you take a look at his Twitter feed, on one of his Twitter accounts, he's not following Trump, he's not following anyone, he's actually following Democrats, which is kind of strange. He's following people like Jimmy Kimmel, Barack Obama, Lena Dunham. And if you're truly a Trump supporter, why wouldn't you follow Trump? It makes no sense. Why wouldn't you follow the White House? That kind of doesn't make sense either. The other account that he has, it seems like he is following Trump. So this individual goes under, different names here. So this is kind of strange. He has Caesar Altieri, and it's at Hard Rock 2016. Julius Caesar Milan, at Hard Rock in Lent. Caesar Sayoc. And I'm sure there's many other accounts that are associated with this name. So it looks like the Twitter accounts just show memes over and over and over, and that's all you see. And some of them are just repeated over and over. Now, Lori Loomer, who is an investigative journalist, went in and said, let me look at the documentation. And she is putting up that he is registered actually as a Democrat, not a Republican. So did someone change this? We don't know. But what's very interesting in Florida, and many people probably don't know this, Florida is one of the 3 states, along with Iowa, Kentucky, to permanently bar all citizens with a felony convictions from voting. Currently, Floridians can only regain the ability to vote if they individually apply to the State Office of Executive Clemency, and their application is one of the few granted. The amendment would give Floridians who have already served their time a second chance at democratic participation. Sayoc, Cesar Sayoc, has been arrested several times in Broward County, Florida, dating back to 1991. Court records show his most recent arrest in Broward was in 2014. In 2002, he was charged with making a bomb threat in Dade County. He was sentenced to 1 year of probation. Prosecutors agreed to withhold adjudication of the felony charge, meaning it was dismissed after he completed the probation in 2003. In 91, Sayoc was charged with third-degree grand theft, a felony. He pleaded guilty that same year and was sentenced to 2 years of probation. In 94, his mother sought a domestic violence injunction against Sayoc, court records show. So he really can't even vote. So this is very odd. And he has a criminal past. And guess what? They usually use innocents who have a criminal past to do their dirty work. This is an agenda to blame Trump and his followers and to get the sympathy vote. So now the tweet that Josh Campbell from CNN does make sense. If we go back to this person who might have mental problems, Josh Campbell tweeted out, and this is a CNN analyst, Josh Campbell, said the following: if the package bomber turns out to be someone with mental health issues, that doesn't mean President Trump is off the hook. If it turns out the bomber was motivated to kill perceived enemies based on recent heated political attacks by officials, those spewing hate share the blame. I see why they put this out there, because we're going to find out that this person has mental problems. And even if the person has mental problems, they can still blame it on Trump. But Trump came out with a tweet which is the opposite of what the deep state wants, which opposite of what they expect him to do. U.S. President Trump praised the police for finding and arresting the suspect in a series of suspicious packages sent to prominent Democrats, saying the political violence has no place in America. He went on to say, these terrorizing acts are despicable and have no place in our country, he said. We must never allow political violence to take root in America. I'm committed to do everything in my power as president to stop it, and stop it now. And he went on to tweet, I would like to begin today's remarks by providing an update on the packages and devices that have been mailed to high-profile figures throughout our country and media organizations. I am pleased to inform you that law enforcement has apprehended the suspect and taken him into custody. So right now, the mainstream media, the deep state, they don't want him talking about, oh, we should get this person, he should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, and we should not see political violence. They want the opposite. He knows this, and this is why he's playing them on this. So let's continue with what Trump is tweeting out there. Republicans are doing so well in early voting and at the polls, and now this bomb stuff happens and the momentum greatly slows. News not talking politics. Very unfortunate. What is going on? Republicans go out and vote. He knows the Republicans. He knows they have the upper hand. He's playing them right now. He's playing with the deep state. He went on to say, funny how lowly rated CNN and others can criticize me at will, even blaming me for the current spate of bombs and ridiculously comparing this September 11th and the Oklahoma City bombing, yet when I criticize them, they go wild and scream. It's just not presidential. Now, what has Trump done? He condemned the bombers before any Democrat on Twitter. Trump promises bomber would be caught within a day. Bomber was caught within a day. Do you think they knew about this? Absolutely. They're playing with the deep state. They're doing everything they don't want him to do. They didn't want the bomber caught right away. They wanted this to go on for a week or so. They wanted to drag this out so they can continually report on this. Now the individual is caught. This puts a wrench in their plans. And everything doesn't add up. Fake bombs that won't explode, like there are bombs from movie sets. It tells you that this was a false flag. The postmarks, they weren't stamped to invalidate the stamps. So were they hand-delivered? And how would this person hand-deliver all the packages? That'd be completely impossible. Did they hire couriers? Well, if they did, then it didn't go through the post office. Fake news media has multiple spin stories ready to go the second it happens. They already called the individual the MAGA bomber before they even knew who it was. I mean, they're just completely ahead of the game. You already see what their narrative is going to be. And then they find the guy in Florida with a pristine van, brand new, new stickers on the car, and this is what they put out in the news. Now, remember, think mirror. This is how they think of Trump followers, those people who follow Q. They think that all of us ride around with CNN sucks, all these stickers on the car, and all these different things with targets on people's heads. This is how they perceive Trump followers, which tells you they know nothing about Q Trump followers. They really don't understand. This is not what we're about. We would never do this. But let's continue here. We see the caravan. Well, there are problems with it now. A lot of the individuals are getting sick. A lot of them are turning around right now. And the numbers are now dwindling. And we can see that people, they have about 1,000 miles to go, and they're just tired, they're exhausted, and they're feeling that it's not worth it. A lot of them are dehydrated, their throats are sore, they have blistered feet, and a lot of them are catching buses, and they're being brought back to their countries. Some are staying in Mexico. They're asking for asylum, and it looks like the whole thing is starting to break down. The caravan is dwindling right now. We'll have to see how this plays out. Erdogan is out there, and he is urging Saudi Arabia to reveal who ordered the hit on Khashoggi. He wants to know who gave the order for 15 people to come to Turkey. We'll have to wait to see how that plays out. And I believe that when they tell you who gave the order, it might be something very, very different than everyone thinks it's going to be. Now, I want to move into why Q has been dark. And the reason Q has gone dark can be found in the Hatch Act. Q needed to go dark because if Q continued to post, it might affect the elections, and Q most likely did not want this to happen. So Q had to go dark, and Q was going to stay dark throughout the month of October leading up to the elections, and then Q would eventually come back online. So what this means is the D-class will most likely happen after the election. Why is this? It's the same reason Q went dark. It's the Hatch Act. So what is the Hatch Act? The Hatch Act of 1939, officially an act to prevent pernicious political activities, is a United States federal law whose main provision prohibits employees in the executive branch of the federal government, except the president, vice president, and certain designated high-level officials, from engaging in some forms of political activity. It went into law on August 2nd, 1939. The law was named for Senator Carl Hatch of New Mexico. It was most recently amended in 2012. So the 1939 Act forbids the intimidation or bribery of voters and restricts political campaign activities by federal employees. It prohibits using any public funds designated for relief or public works for electoral purposes. It forbids officials paid with federal funds from using promises of jobs, promotion, financial assistance, contracts, or any other benefit to coerce campaign contributions or political support. It provides that persons below the policy-making level in the executive branch of the federal government must not only refrain from political practices that would be illegal for any citizens, but must abstain from any active part in political campaigns, using this language to specify those who are exempt. So Q might have given us a hint, and if we go back to post 1234, this was August 21st, 2018, and back then we thought it meant something completely different, but now we're starting to realize that it might mean something else. So back then, Anonymous put up, "Thank Q, we are existential threat to the establishment. Hashtag trusting the plan." Q wrote, "America will be unified again November 11th, 2018. Now, we thought this was because of the troops coming home, Veterans Day parade, the wars have ended. This might be still part of it. But what we think this means now is the days of darkness will end and it will give way to light, and the American people will be unified again because the truth will be out there." So this might be the date when the D-class happens, the truth comes out, and Trump acknowledges Q. And once this happens, and people start to learn the truth and understand what was really going on, everything will change. Now, will it change in a split second? No. This will be the beginning. Looking back in history, this will be recorded as the date America will be unified. But as we go through it, you're going to see the mainstream media fight this. You're going to see people fight this. They don't want to accept it. Q has warned us about this. And I believe maybe right after the elections, Q will then come back online. Q will then lead us towards this date. You'll hear Trump come out with more tweets about what is about to happen. And on November 11th, everything will change. The darkness will end, and we will see light.